Hello Chameleon Academy, welcome back. This is Bill Strand, and today we're going to be talking about the Zoomed Reptibreeze screen cage. That is the most common chameleon cage used in the chameleon community, and so let's get to know it. Now there's about 4 companies at least in the United States, that are consistently producing screen cages. That's Zoomed, Exoterra, Dragon Strand, and DIY Cages. There is a company called Zilla that makes screen cages, but their largest model is barely adequate for our most common chameleons, and so we generally don't talk about them that much. The rest of the companies have a 2 foot by 2 foot by 4 foot tall cage, or in the case of Exoterra, a 3 foot wide by 18-inch deep by 3 foot tall cage. And yes, I acknowledge that these are mostly active in the US. Canada and Europe will have a subset of these companies. And so for this episode, I'm going to be talking specifically about the Zoomed Reptibreeze Extra Large Cage. And this is a 24-inch by 24-inch by 48-inch tall cage. And this cage has become a staple within the community. It is inexpensive and it's easy to get a hold of. Now there's other sizes in the Reptibreeze line. They have smaller cages all the way down to their little nano, which is like 10 inches by 10 inches by 20 inches. And these cages are good for babies, but the only one that really works for the most common species, veiled panther Jacksons, is the extra large size, which is 2 foot by 2 foot by 4 foot tall. Though we have to be on guard. The most common Zoomed model sent home with people is something called the Chameleon Kit, which is a smaller cage. It's a 16 by 16 by 30-inch tall cage, but it's packaged with some ineffective accessories that were all thrown together and called the Chameleon Kit. Unfortunately, it's only a great marketing effort because it gives the implication that this is all you need to get started with your chameleon. Unfortunately, husbandry-wise, it's a complete disaster. All these parts were thrown in without consideration as to how well they work together. And the UVB light is so weak that it's actually dangerous because it gives the illusion that you have UVB for your chameleon, when in fact, the effective range is only a couple of inches in front of the bulb itself. And if you look at most people who are sent home with the Chameleon Kit, number one, the chameleon is too big to fit inside that little area, and these people don't have anything set up in the area that they need to use what little UVB is available. It is ironic that Zoomed, the company that introduced the UVB bulb and helped us fight MBD in our chameleons and other reptiles, is now the company who's creating a product that actually creates MBD in our chameleons. One look at the social media accounts with the number of people who come in with the Chameleon Kit and sick chameleons, and you get not just a little bit angry that a reptile manufacturing company and a whole host of pet stores and reptile vendors at shows are hoisting this piece of garbage off on first-time chameleon keepers that don't know any better. For Zoomed, a company that does so much to protect the industry through its support of USARK, this is a very strange way of conducting business. The Chameleon Kit is such a problem product that I had to create a digital course for influencers and social media group admins to give training on how to help people who are stuck with the Chameleon Kit and how to help them transition to proper husbandry. It's a huge problem. But I'm going to be here to talk about the extra large, which is actually a good product for the community. The cage itself is a good screen cage. It's 2 foot wide, 2 foot deep, and 4 foot tall. It's got a nice black screen. In the beginning, it was just painted over metal, and so it would rust out, but they've changed it, so now it's aluminum. You're not going to have the rusting problem. The only rusting parts left on this cage are the screws and the hinge pins. But if you have indoor keeping, this isn't such an issue. I bring it up only because I'm going to be focusing on using screen cages as outdoor keeping, and rusting parts are a good thing to know about if you're going to be doing outdoor keeping. You get a generous flip-up door on the bottom that allows you to reach in and do spot cleaning without disturbing the occupants, and the floor panel itself will slide out when you want to do deep cleaning. The flip-up door used to rotate on molded plastic parts that would break very easily, but they've since replaced that with metal screw parts, and so it's a robust system now. The latches for the door create a positive static hold on the pin of the door, which is a good system, but you have to make sure that you build the cage on a flat, hard surface, and so everything squares up. And that's the same with any screen cage. You need to make sure it's square so the door will open and close freely and in the right position to be latched. They include a couple of extra screws of each type, so if one rolls away, you've got a backup, but I strongly suggest that you use a bowl, and as soon as you cut open that bag of screws, you pour it into the bowl to avoid anything rolling away. Now, this is going to be a strange segment within this cage review process, but I gotta talk about shipping. If you ordered this cage online, be prepared to have to return it once or twice. Because what you'll find is when you get it into the mail that it's generally shipped in its retail packaging, which is woefully inadequate to go through our shipping system. And so when you get it in, the first thing you want to do is open it up and check for damage. You want to get all of your return cycles out of the way as soon as possible so you can get to building a cage and actually using it. If there is damage, notify the company that sold it to you immediately. And like I said, you'll know the reason for it once you see it. ZoomEd cages come in this weak, thin retail packaging that's not meant to protect the unit. But the retailers who sell it to you want to save money, so they don't want to add an overbox protection. It's actually disturbing that the cages are so cheap that it's more profitable for them to just replace the damaged ones than to package every one of them in appropriate shipping boxes. But hey, the lengths we go to have cheap stuff. There you go. This is the one that I recently received. See how weak the box is? Here's where the corner has been absolutely destroyed and has obliterated the corners of the cage panels inside. And look here. The box has already been taped together before it was sent on this trip. And so it's not like they don't know that this is a risky send. The good news is that these companies already know that they're going to get a high percentage of damaged deliveries and are ready to quickly send out replacements. Not sure if it's good news or this disgusts me. To be fair, shipping damage can happen with any cage manufacturer, but the retailers selling ZoomEd don't even bother trying to make sure that this makes it through the mail. It is the most popular cage because it's cheap. That's how it was designed, that's how it was manufactured, and that's how it is shipped. The cage is a good cage once it's up, so this is just part of the process. Don't get overly excited if the cage comes in damaged or the frame bent. Just call customer service and go through the return cycle. Assembly is straightforward and the instructions are pretty clear. Overall, I like the Reptibreeze cage. It's a good entry-level cage and it's adequate for the most common chameleon species. I'd give ZoomEd a 2 thumbs up on the cage line, except for what they've done with the Chameleon Kit, which you can't forgive that. I actually used the smaller chameleon cages for my babies and for other chameleon cage projects. So, when I say don't buy the Chameleon Kit, know that I'm saying don't buy that package. It's worse than useless, but the cages are good. And so if you want to go and buy the cages for any project or for your first chameleon, it's a good buy. Now tomorrow, I'm going to be going over screen cage assembly tips. Yes, there are hints, tips, and tricks to assembling screen cages to make sure it's done the most effectively, efficiently, and painlessly. I personally own a caging company, the Dragonstrand Chameleon Caging Company, and so I definitely have insight into building chameleon cages, and I'm going to share that with you tomorrow. This is an episode in a complete series on chameleon screen cages. Subscribe to the Chameleon Academy to catch the whole thing. If you'd like to go back to the start of the series, you can go ahead and click here. The next episode in the series, when it's released, will be here. Thanks for joining me here, and I will see you tomorrow.